Ciao and buongiorno, Kathleen here live in Assisi. Right now I am at the tomb of Santa Clara. She's an incorruptible saint. And this is the chiesa. This is the church that houses her body. You see, you look around. Beautiful miracles happen everywhere in Italy. But take a look at this church. So if you have not been to Assisi and the story of Santa Francisco, the lover of animals, ecology, here you have this is where St. Francis of Assisi was born. Okay? Now, take a look, and I will tell you a story. In 1182, the only son of Pietro, who was a wealthy cloth merchant, his worldly success was given to Francesco. That's his only son. So Pietro, the father, and the son, San Francisco, had a very, very troubled relationship because the dad was always about money, and Francisco, even at a youthful age, he would love to just give his father's wealth to the poor. He was very popular with his peers. He would hang out with the ladies. So St. Francis was quite a guy. He had a calling from God, and God spoke to him and he said, rebuild my church. So if you look this up on the internet, you can find the whole story. So I'm just giving you little bits and pieces. So what happened was that, let's go with the true information. Francis was always the center of attention. He could be found engaged in sport or confidently serenading the women of Assisi. He also sought the glory and honor of battle. So at age 19, he joined the war with Assisi's rival, Perugia. After an abrupt defeat, Francis spent almost a year as a prisoner for the neighboring country. So what happened was his father finally got enough money together to free him from the prison, and he could finally pay the ransom. After that, it seemed as though imprisonment and illness had shattered Francis's self-assurance. He became depressed and soon became an emotional crisis. So sad. But at 23, he had a vision and marked the beginning of his conversion. Francis spontaneously began to share his family's wealth to the poor. The lack of understanding between Pietro, Francis's father, and Francis provoked harsh, angry words from the father. And what happened is that St. Francis became sullen with hostile silence. It's not good. He kept searching for an inner peace and a new direction, put Francis on the road to conversion. So what happened next was in 1206, at the age of 24, while praying in the tiny church in San Damiano, Christ spoke to him saying, rebuild my church. So he started to rebuild the chapel that he thought rebuild was a matter of just stones and mortar. But it changed his lifestyle accordingly. Everyone thought that St. Francis was mad, but some were so attracted to his spirituality and simplicity of life, his sincerity with everything he did. But the friction with his father finally exploded in 1206 when the dad, Pietro, pursued him to the central piazza of the city and demanded. So the father demanded that Francis repay all of his debts, whatever he gave to the poor, sporadically just gave to the poor. And so the father's like, Francis, I want all my money back, and all that money that you're putting into the church, I want that back too, because that's mad, that's ridiculous. So what happened was, I guess his father thought he was just squandering all of the dad's riches. So at that moment, you know what St. Francis did in Assisi right here? What he did is he actually took off all of his clothes in front of all the townspeople. He stripped himself naked and renounced his hereditary rights. He gave his fine clothes back to his astonished father. The bishop was standing right there, quickly robed St. Francis with the rope that you see today and around his waist, what he wears today. And Francis, at that point, he solemnized his wedding with his beloved spouse, the Lady of Poverty, under whose name he would surrender all worldly goods, honor, and privileges. So St. Francis literally gave up all of his wealth, his privileges, and everything just to follow Christ. He was also caring for the lepers. He was called to tame a wolf, a wild animal that no one could control. And only St. Francis was able to do this. St. Francis was preaching to the birds and the animals. He was a lover of animals. He was a lover of anybody that were vulnerable. He loved the vulnerable animals, the poor. Today, he's the patron saint of animals, merchants, and ecology. St. Francis today is remembered for the miracle of God performed through him, for his compassion for the vulnerable, the poor, sick, and the animals. These are beautiful examples that we have in our everyday life of these amazing saints. So I just love exploring this. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. Assisi. Assisi. And here is the tomb of Santa Clara. Santa Clara. It's actually Saint Clare, but in Italian it's Santa Chiara. Santa Chiara. And this is the church and the tomb, and because I have really short shorts on, they won't let me in there with shorts. So they give you a nice little towel to put around your legs for devotion and respect. These are famous places, been around for years and years, and there's so many beautiful saints. And actually, Santa Clara is incorruptible. That means that her bones are still there after, I don't know how many years. Read about it. And St. Francis and St. Clara were friends back then. They were friends. They would hang out. So beautiful to see. So what do we choose? Do we choose a life of convenience, monetary solace, things that are quick to just leave? Or do we choose a life that's a little bit deeper, to go into yourself, really find who you are and what you're about, and to be able to cultivate that so you can inspire others? And I really truly believe that it's about inspiring others. We're here in service of others. Soul service, that's it. We have to get rid of our egos, get rid of all of our wants and needs, and know that there's more. There's God.